Oh, that's okay.
We will reveal the time zone that James is in soon, but we will take your guesses in chat if you're able to. All right. Well, let's get started then. Welcome everybody to this edition of the SF SIGGRAPH. I'm going to just show you some this is our presentation tonight with James Rodley-Batten. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's take a look at some of the previous sessions that we've done. If you're not familiar with SIGGRAPH, we've had quite a bit of variety to the presentations. Last time, Inigo Quiles talked about sign distance fields use, and it was pretty exciting talk. Somewhat technical, but also a lot of beautiful slides and the output that you can't imagine how someone using that much math can make images that beautiful. Pretty cool. Other things like generative AI and how that's being used by artists today. Some work in person at Pixar. So it was like a series of electronic theater entries at Pixar. Transformers. We've seen a lot of visual effects work in the past, obviously. Before the pandemic, a lot of these were in-person shows, of course, because nobody knew how to use Zoom back then. That was like a thing that was only for people that work remotely. But you can see the variety of things that the audiences have seen in our SIGGRAPH presentations. And so we keep trying to find new ones. And if you have ideas for things, let us know. That's part of what this community is all about, is hearing your ideas and things you'd be interested. And so if you can make a connection, look, this is a volunteer-run organization. And if you're not currently a member, we invite you to become a member. You'll see a slide here pretty soon that shows you how you can do that. But some really cool stuff, and everybody loves Paul Debevec in his talks. I don't think we would have a visual effects world if it weren't for Paul. Computer art, going way back here. So just to kind of show you the fun stuff. And here is here's the sort of main organization. You can go there and find us. That's where you can sign up. That's where you can get tickets. Probably a lot of you already know about that. This is our board. And you can join us, be a part of this. Look us up on Facebook as well. And then next week, don't forget, next week in Vancouver, it's the big annual convention. I don't know, too bad we can't show, but raise your hand, little emote, if you're going to SIGGRAPH convention next week. Anybody? Okay, there we go. We got one, couple. All right, fun. Well, that should be a blast. And so here we are tonight. I'll talk a little bit, first of all, we are recording this talk, so you don't have to worry about trying to scribble notes and all that sort of stuff. This will be recorded and uploaded to the SIGGRAPH, the main SIGGRAPH YouTube channel, as soon as we have that recording available. Also, one other thing is you may have questions for our speaker or for Cassidy or me or Henry or somebody. If you want to ask a question, down in the bottom right corner is a little grid of dots. If you click on that, it'll bring up a menu and you'll see something that says Q&A in a list. Click on that Q&A That'll bring up a window, and there's a little button at the bottom that says you click on that button to ask a question, and then hit return, and it'll put it in a queue. And so we'll collect those questions as we go, and we'll get to them at the end of the session tonight. And so we'll go through and ask those at the end. All right. Okay, let's get started here then. I'm gonna kick it off by just welcoming everybody tonight to our session on Project Kara, AI-powered game remastering. The timing for this conversation couldn't be more relevant. Just this morning, OpenAI released GPT-5, which is their most advanced model yet. It's a major milestone in the rapid evolution of AI, expanding what's possible in reasoning, interaction, and tool use. So for those of us in the SIGGRAPH community, this pace of change is exciting, and for some it's concerning as well. And I think we all should acknowledge that. These tools challenge long-held ideas about authorship, creativity, and our role as artists and technologists. So it's fitting that tonight's project involves a racing game, because the pace of AI development feels just as fast and just as high stakes. Yeah, I had ChatGPT help me with that line. So that's why it's kind of landed flat. But anyway, moments like this invite us to think carefully, though, about how we steer, not just how fast we go. So our speaker tonight is James Rodley-Batten. He's a lead artist at Electric Square with over 16 years of game industry experience. He's joining us tonight from his home in Malta, where it's 2 a.m., well, 2:11 a.m. So let's all thank him for being here. Let's give a little applause. Welcome, James Rodley-Batten, to our SIGGRAPH family here. I'm going to stop presenting so that you can jump in. Thank you, James.
Wow. Thanks, Jay. That was an amazing intro. And yeah, I'm just updating my presentation to add those excellent puns, those lines. I wish I'd thought of that. My presentation won't be starting as clever as that. But yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here tonight. Yeah, very late this morning for me. And it's thank you all for coming. And what a apt introduction. The topics that you mention are definitely in everyone's minds. And you know, myself and the team that I work with and Keyword Studios are aware of this, and we're, you know, really researching and figuring out how to adapt to this new world. So let me just share my screen. I'm going to be risky and share my entire screen because I know that that works. And I'm sure no one's going to message me with embarrassing things that will pop up on my screen at this time of hour in the day. So I feel safe. I haven't even turned notifications off. That's how confident I am. All right. So, okay, let's start. Oh, someone wants to join. Good timing. Jim S, welcome. You are just in time. I'm about to start. Right. Okay then. So yeah, there's two parts to this talk. There's what we've been working on and what I'm reporting on, which is Project Kara, and you'll get to learn about that in a minute. But also there's a section at the end where I've added some slides for today, purely because of the reason, like Jay was mentioning, is that things are moving so fast, and it was like a bit crazy to be giving you a presentation that's sort of, the material is 6 months out of date, really. So I've updated it, but let's see what it's like. So I'm James Rodley-Batten, a lead artist at Electric Square, working on an exciting R&D project called Kara. I'm honoured here to represent our whole team today, and give you a window into that research. Yeah, as Jay mentioned, 16 years of art leadership in video games. Sorry to say, more like 22 years in the video games industry. Yeah, so I've been an art director and lead artist for those 16 years, and it's a real honor to be doing video games and what I call art as a job. So that's a little bit about me. I call myself a multimedia artist because I never settled down and specialized in one area. I'm one of those jack of all trades. So Kara's mission. So this is what it's all about, to explore and harness the potential of generative AI in video game development. But this is where it gets interesting. We're not just theorizing, we're applying this research to a real world case study. So we've been remastering a racing game. So our starting point is a game called Detonation Racing, made in 2021. So this title, this was an ideal candidate for remastering because it has a set of assets that allow us to apply generative AI across the whole of game development. So I just want to show you a quick teaser of what this presentation is about to be, and just to give you a feel of what that original game is. Bear with me, just going to share you a video. I'm going to share you this one. All right, volume alert, everyone. Here we go.
Hey there, Akiko here, top driver from Detonation Racing. I've got some exciting news about our game. For those who haven't experienced the chaos yet, Detonation Racing is a fast-paced arcade racer that hit Apple Arcade in 2021. Developed by Electric Square and Lively, it's not your average race. We're talking track destruction, opponent sabotage, and hidden shortcuts. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Our Unity-developed game has caught the eye of Project Kara. They're diving into the world of generative AI in game dev, and guess what? We're their perfect test subject. From our racetracks and drivers to our sound effects, Detonation Racing is getting a remaster with GAI assistance. We can't wait to see how it comes out. Using Detonation Racing as the test track for this project isn't just about giving our game a fancy new paint job. The Kara team is trying to integrate AI into as much of the development process as possible, really pushing game creation and figuring out just what this tech can do. Welcome to Detonation Racing, a high-speed, explosive game show. I hope you survive! Chaos lifted. Fireworks frenzy. Total. Strike ready. Trigger time.
Okay. So let me just get back to the presentation. All right. So you now have a good sense of the project, hopefully. It's a remaster of Detonation Racing, and our team is well versed in game development and understand current pipelines, you know, aka we're video game makers. We're not technical AI experts, but we hear this endless buzz around AI and how it's going to assist us. So we're tasked to be the discerning minds that filter through the promises and the hype, to take the emerging technology and put it through its pace and report back our findings. As I mentioned, I work at Keyword Studios. Well, I work at Electric Square, which is a Keyword Studios company, and we collaborate with the wider Keyword Studios group, including their AI Center of Excellence, and even little things like we're working with there's complex legal issues surrounding AI use. So to address this, we collaborate with Keyword Studios legal, InfoSec and privacy teams. to quickly review and approve tools for R&D purposes. So yeah, a lot of support to investigate this stuff. So we're developing comprehensive onboarding documentation for anyone that joins us. It's really helpful to familiarize a new starter with AI terminology and grasp fundamental concepts like AI psychology and deep learning. These are actual screenshots from our database to give you a sense of the content we provide. You're not meant to read it, don't worry about it. But it includes insights from Ava, which was our first generative AI R&D project, in which we built a game featuring quite a lot of 2D visuals and narrative and UI. And that was, you know, our first attempt at building a game with AI. And today, though, we're talking about Kara, which is the second R&D project, which is building on the learnings from that project, Ava. And this time, we've been applying our efforts towards a realistic goal of remastering a game using generative AI-assisted pipelines, including 3D pipelines. So with our tools in place and the original Detonation Racing project restored from the archives, let's take a look at some of the development pipelines that we went through. So first off, it's crucial to squash a myth. You must understand that not a single asset in Kara has been developed with just a click of a button. The results will always be inconsistent and generic. Each element has to undergo multiple iteration, refinement, and optimization. After all, it's in the hands of skilled professionals that these AI tools can be leveraged to their maximum potential. And of course, yes, we did try with one click at the beginning because we were naive and didn't know much. We've grown since then. Let's have a look. So this is an example of our look development work. So this is, you know, a really good use case for your basic image generation tools. Basic, I can't believe I'm using the word basic already, like the magic that was unleashed on us. So yeah, with generative image tools, you can generate lots of visual styles, and then you can evaluate it as a team. So we laid out a few images. From the left, there's photorealism, and then, sorry, from the left, there's cartoon styling, and then on the right, there's photorealism. I'm going to let you all into a secret. I was trying to be a professional presenter and do the opposite gesture so that to you seeing me, I was describing it correctly, and I just muddled my brain. But yeah, you can see we settled for a style in the illustrative, graphically styled area. So we didn't go for photorealistic or cartoon, but it was really nice to as a communication tool to use this with the art team to discuss the target that we were aiming for. It's actually a traditional technique. If I'm sure a lot of you are artists here, it's a traditional technique to look at lots of references and discuss style and everything. But these references are more bespoke because they've been generated with the product in mind. But then we did some style refinement. So we took that starting point and we had a vision of creating a more a moving graphic novel aesthetic. So aiming to make it even more stylish and distinctive. So we applied our skills and disciplines as artists to curate, extract, and combine all the ingredients needed to achieve this exciting vision. And you can see that, you know, we use digital painting and image bashing to create like target look pieces. So we're picking our way through this technology and seeing how we can use it. And then, yeah, sure, the resulting illustration stylization allowed us to embrace the output of this first generation of generative AI tools, compensating in character what some tools might lack in overall technical accuracy. You know, we're in the youth of these tools, and the output isn't, in my opinion, production ready straight out of the box. But we embraced it and just dove straight in to see what would happen. One thing that happened was once the style guide is in place and we're getting consistent image generation and prompting, it allowed all the artists on the team to generate their own material and concepts collaborating to this aligned vision. And this is a collection of different people's generations using similar prompting techniques and image prompting techniques. I've compiled them together to show that, you know, there was some consistency happening. We were getting a bit more advanced with the control, if you like. And then, of course, like I mentioned before with the photo bashing, we're able to curate more focused bespoke art pieces to communicate our visual ideas more effectively. So, you know, if we couldn't get it straight out the box, we used we generated images, cut them up, and smashed them together to communicate our piece. So that was the look development and tool experimentation in hand, well underway. It's important to let you know we were documenting all of our pipelines and processes in our database to kind of record our experiments, if you like. But we needed to get down to remastering the game because having that goal made the R&D more realistic. So the code team finished up on updating the Unity project to a newer version and was now available to provide ongoing technical support as us artists wrangled these tools and started remastering the game. This is a little GIF of the actual finished game. So just a quick pause to explain the layout of this presentation. Quite often there'll be images side by side like this, and I know it's labeled, but let's try this again. So on the left, there will be the original game, and then on the right will be the new GAI remastered game. So immediately, we found integrating generative AI into our pipeline significantly accelerated iteration. For instance, the Skybox tool that we employed allowed us to generate diverse compositions and restyle them using a remix feature. So whilst GAI assisted processes dramatically reduced production time, it's important to note that the skilled manual refinement remained crucial in achieving optimal results. I might as well get a bit more anecdotal. For this, we generated a photorealistic sky first, and then we used the remixing feature to restyle it into the more illustrative cartoon style. And then, of course, you know, the color didn't match, or, you know, and there were things that we wanted to correct and improve. And it's a very simple skybox technique. It wasn't anything super advanced in terms of video game development. So for 3D asset creation, we really just jumped in and embraced this new wave of AI-powered tools capable of generating 3D assets from images, which weren't about when Project Ava was running. So this was like new. This is new tech. And when I say this was, I'm literally talking about only, you know, 8 months ago, maybe 6 months ago. Like we were doing this, and you're about to see where we're at now. While the outputs can vary wildly, we were often surprised by pleasing results. So although the generations that came out lacked precision, the process allowed extremely rapid iteration and experimentation, and it really enabled us to fail fast and quickly and swap out various assets. And these are some screenshots of from image generation to 3D generation, optimization, and into the engine. So this approach proved relatively suitable for a racing game, where many of the assets are viewed from a mid-range distance as players speed along the track. And then through extensive experimentation, you know, trying different things, we worked out a workable pipeline. We were able to, you know, use these tools to create assets and get them into the game. So 2D image generation, image to 3D conversion, 3D editing software, and optimization and refinement. And you can see the poly counts got very quickly out of hand using the tools, and we had to keep those in check. But the resulting assets, when viewed from trackside, they served their purpose effectively and contributed to a rich and dynamic racing environment. So when attempting to generate large elements requiring structural accuracy like the skyscrapers, we often encountered, with the tools at the time, abnormal perspective issues baked into the geometry, like skyscrapers would come out with false perspective, for example. Consequently, we decided to retain the existing geometry from the original game and focus on a pipeline, an efficient way to retexture the buildings. We explored numerous methods to adapt the look and feel of them, and with varying results. So a really straightforward technique involved using image prompts. All we did is essentially reimagine the existing textures. However, we also developed a more sophisticated method utilizing a custom, like, comfy UI setup. I talk about comfy UI today like everyone knows what it is. Just in case you don't, comfy UI is not a tool that makes really nice UI. Far from it. UI is a term that's used in the video game industry, the user interface. So when I'm presented with a tool that says comfy UI, I'm expecting it generates UI, but it doesn't. It's a comfortable user interface for you to wrangle these generative AI tools and use a node-based system to have more control over the output of, for example, image generation. And it uses these things called like IP adapters and what have you. I bet you're more technical than I am, but that's kind of the beauty of this presentation, is that we're artists familiar with old processes and we're trying to use these new tools and technologies in new ways. So this pipeline was actually really effective for unwrapping simple models that could use box unwrapping. And as we iteratively refined our process throughout multiple reprojections, we observed a steady improvement in our results. And this progress correlated directly with the expansion of our visual reference material, aka the more the more reference material you have in the correct look and style, the more you can feed into the setup. The output became more accurate to the target of the visuals that you're after. And of course, you could do that quite fast. We could retexture these buildings in many different ways. So that was a little bit about art. Now I'm here representing the team. And like I said, I'm a multimedia artist, so it's a pleasure to talk about things like audio as well. The original game lacked voiceover and in-game commentary. So we took the opportunity to test some tools out in this area too. And I'm going to play you a audio clip to listen to some of our learnings. So bear with me just 2 seconds. I'll present you a audio clip. Share. Let's do this. All right. Volume alert again. Here we go.
This is an AI-generated voiceover test, created from recorded audio. While the output is clear and professional, it lacks the dynamic energy required for racing game commentary. For instance, consider this line: "Rev those engines. Let's show them what speed really means." Despite adding extra punctuation and emphasis in the text, the AI-generated audio fails to capture the intensity and excitement we're aiming for. This demonstrates a crucial point. Unless the original voice recording contains the appropriate artistic performance and emotional delivery, the AI-generated output will struggle to convey the desired impact and energy. Let's try this again, this time using a voice recording that has a more energetic performance. "Rev those engines, let's show them what speed really means."
Okay. So using this trained voice, we implemented a 2-layer audio commentary system. So the audio engineers, they implemented a loudspeaker announcement layer that played out in the track. And then they had another layer, which is like a radio transmission effect, simulating audio through the driver's racing helmet. And having this dual layer approach adds some dimension and depth and significantly enhances the game's immersion. Additional to this, Laced Audio, another Keywords studio, have experimented with various generative music tools, and they settled on a solution that provided high quality output and the ability to export stems, so that they could hook it into the game for dynamic game music. So let's check out some of the results in another gameplay clip. So you'll first hear the audio from the original game, and it'll be labeled original game, and then it will play a clip of the remastered, the GAI assisted remaster with the new audio, and there's a couple of examples. Let me go to this. Reminds me Media 3. 2 seconds. Present Media 3. Here we go. So you're listening to, this is more about listening, not looking. Okay. Media 3. Let's go.
Welcome to the mayhem. 2 laps, a track full of strikes, and opponents ready to trigger chaos. Think you can survive?
Detonate now.
Raging rock roll. Skid marks galore.
Trigger time.
Cool. So I hope that demonstration shows that whilst the elements were generated with AI, the true value is added by the human curation and creativity and expertise by the way they implemented it. Oh, I keep hopping back and forth. I could have gone back to another video, but now actually is a big reveal. Now you're going to get to see a minute and a bit of a video of the actual game that we finished making. It will start split screen, but then you'll get to see the full screen of the demonstration. Let me pretty sure this is the next slide.
Just while James is doing that, we've made James jump through hoops on this presentation. He had a presentation with everything already embedded. It was beautiful, and it's limitation of our conferencing software that's causing him to have to jump back and forth. So I really appreciate the extra effort.
No, it's going well. It's going smoothly. Fingers crossed. There's time for it to go catastrophically wrong, but let's try. Right. Okay. So this is a demonstration of the game. Here we go.
Your competitors are itching to set off those strikes, so stay frosty out there.
3, 2, 1, detonation time.
Drifting devil.
Strike ready. Chaos loaded.
Crushing crossfire. Slip and grip.
Detonate now.
Scaly missiles.
Move available.
put on.
Okay, cool. I think I noticed a question pop up there, but we'll handle questions at the end, and because I'll probably get in a muddle, but I will answer later. All right, let's switch back to the presentation. All right, we're doing well. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. So the real power of the generative AI assisted pipelines in game development isn't just what it can do, but how it transforms what we can do. So I'd like to point out a couple of pipelines that surfaced from gaining confidence and experience with the tools. So inspired by the original game, we wanted billboards that featured the driver's portraits. We remastered those original character concepts and brought them to life using image to video generation. So our UI artist was able to animate our portraits by capturing their own performance in Runway's Act 1 feature. They literally captured it from their own webcam. We then added some post effects like scan lines and chromatic aberration, adding that little professional touch. And the textures were then handed over to a 3D environment artist to apply the results in Unity. It was really rewarding to see a UI artist doing so much of this sort of heavy lifting and integrating even more so than usual with the 3D art team. Another effective pipeline worth highlighting is our giant human hologram inspired by the modern city skyline that we were building. The idea just came very late in production towards the end, and time was running short, but we employed our learnings in a multi-tool approach and quickly implemented something. So we took our character, which was modeled with Didimo's AI technology. We added animation, quickly captured in Move AI. We then created a supporting background video using like Midjourney, Photoshop, and Runway to animate it. And then with a bit of a final human touch, our tech art team, with some shader and lighting wizardry, completed the holographic effect. We turned it around really quickly and thrilled with the results. It really added to the skyline. So overall, we've implemented a lot of successful pipelines during the project, many more than what are detailed here today in this talk. This is just a list of some of the things that we did in pre-production, in production, and even in post-production. We're fully embracing AI tools and trying to use them and see how it transforms the way we work. So that includes, like even like publishing pieces that we do. So let's summarize key takeaways from our experience so far. So first, here are some potential benefits to consider. Generative AI tools have the potential to speed up asset creation, in particular for textures and aspects of environmental design. They are also able to quickly generate a range of results, facilitating rapid testing and ideation. Many AI tools, such as some open source models, can be accessed at minimal cost. Generative AI tools have the potential to meet the necessary artistic direction for perhaps background and blockout assets. And as we've seen for ourselves, AI pipelines improve over time, resulting in better quality output and needing less manual adjustment. However, there are some potential drawbacks, as we ourselves have encountered along the way. Some AI tools require quite complicated setup, which can feel quite alien at first. And whilst fast, the lack of control in some instances result in multiple rounds of iteration in order to meet specific creative goals. Generative AI tools often complement existing tools rather than replace them entirely, and they come with their own licensing costs and restrictions, which risk inflating software costs, for example. Maintaining consistency with AI tool output is always a challenge, even more so when striving for high level of quality. And from our experience so far, generative AI tools, generated assets often struggle when aiming for complex or very high quality output, meaning key content remains manually authored. In this instance, the cars remained manually authored. So many of our pipelines did result in productivity increases, but several caveats apply. One cannot underestimate the significant investment in time to research the tools and define best practices. And also don't forget that as an R&D project, Kara benefits from more flexibility and tolerance that would normally be possible. Having said that, it's really great investigating this space, because whilst our remaster of Detonation Racing is a crucial output, there's even more significant aspects to this work. A significant accomplishment is helping establish Keyword Studios as a thought leader in AI. Our newsletters are distributed both internally to enrich our company's collective wisdom and externally on LinkedIn through our supercharged newsletter, hopefully enlightening the broader industry. So we documented some of these pipelines that we did, and we delivered it in really high quality content. And we were just hoping to foster a culture of transparency, innovation, and collaboration. And we're hoping to see advancement in the entire development ecosystem. So yeah, you can actually access the documents on LinkedIn yourself. And also we have a consistent presence at GDC in 2024 and 2025, and here today with SIGGRAPH. It allows us to showcase the R&D, layering in the groundwork for future opportunities and positioning us at the forefront of industry innovation. By exploring generative AI, we also developed our own tools and plugins, significantly enhancing our operational efficiency. Our lighting assistant is a prime example. So it was amazing when we first brought on a lighting artist and had that conversation where it's like, this is what Kara is, this is what we're doing, we're remastering this game, and then this is how we we want you to help us, but we need you to think about using AI and generative AI techniques. We couldn't think of a way that it could help with lighting at all. We were just like, well, how is it going to help with lighting? But with a collaboration with our tech artist and lighting artist, we uncovered a few approaches. They began using AI to relight 2D images, which then served as reference for automatically lighting a 3D scene. So our tech artist synchronized the language model with Unity. It analyzes lighting and post-processing effects in images that we feed into it, and then it translates them into Unity compatible components. And it created an automatic initial lighting setup, providing an excellent foundation for rapid experimentation. This AI assisted approach exemplifies how AI speeds up workflows, improves consistency, and enhances creative control, and demonstrated tangible benefits in game production. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was wild to see this unravel, actually, seeing, a technically minded person say, well, why can't we do this? And then seeing the lighting artists use those tools and experiment with them. So yeah, the output of Kara was a playable game demo, thought leadership, creative innovation, and some new tools and plugins. But like I said, we're coming up to 6 months since the work on that project wrapped up. And as I'm sure you all know, development in this area is moving so fast. AI tools have continued to evolve and new AI tools have emerged. So I felt it would be a disservice to you all listening today to leave it there. So I've put together a handful of additional slides to acknowledge the ongoing innovation. So I'm just going to power through that and we can talk at the end. So what's new? Well, quite a lot actually. Notably, agentic AI has become more commonly used and referred to. More on that in a second. And video generation tools now have a lot more consistency in their output. They're even able to generate sound and vocal performances. And I'm sure you've all come across a new wave of media in your social media channels using this technology. Regarding agentic AI, our brilliant code team have been assembling an agent swarm. They were concurrently doing this whilst we were remastering Detonation Racing. So the goal is to improve and enhance our interaction with multiple AI models. So it's early days. However, this initiative opens up several exciting avenues using agentic AI. It allows the user to work with multiple agents simultaneously, but all guided with natural language. So instead of just a constant back and forth talking to just one LLM, let's say, you can talk to a team of LLMs and they will do some of the heavy lifting for you. This is a very personal experiment. When I was given the tool, I was just testing it, and you know, I never thought this would see the light of day, but I thought it was a great demonstration for you today. I basically had the agent swarm write poetry and create supporting imagery. So when I built the agency, I assigned personalities and expertise to the agents. I encouraged them to draw inspiration from the Romanticism period, and I asked them to create a series of 5 poems and 5 supporting images that tells a story about a man's life accelerated across a single day. So from birth to death in a day, and it was generated only with 7 prompts. So it was really interesting. So, you know, I told it that that's what I wanted, and then off it went, writing, reviewing, critiquing, developing images, and then assembling them. They didn't assemble them as pretty as this. I've put them tidier for you, but it did output this this content. And I'm sure the poets amongst you will be very critical of the content and the artists amongst you. But you know, it was a very valid experiment just to see the capabilities. Let's acknowledge those 3D generative AI tools that we were using in Kara. The problem with a lot of the assets that it generated in the first generation of these tools is that they came out with this melted look and feel. Everything looked like it was a bit like those pottery money boxes that you get, which are meant to be, you know, representing something with hard surface modeling. So yeah, everything just isn't quite right. But we are investigating new releases. I haven't got any captures of my own. I have done some research and seen some impressive stuff, some new tools coming out. But I did return to the tools that we used in Kara and noticed that the output geometry was improving, and the functionality within those tools had expanded. And this tool allowed for retexturing the model. And it also has projection retexturing. So you kind of tumble the 3D asset, you use that almost like as an image prompt reference, and then you can generate a new image, and then you can mask paint it onto the object, tumble it, regenerate an image, mask paint it on, and kind of construct something new. You know, it not the easiest to use, but fascinating technique to see. And something that's quite accessible to everyone is you know, we all, dare I say it, we all, I think that might be true actually now, we all write prompts and generate and are able to generate images. But even from just the 8 months when we were doing this before to now, the prompting has become more comprehensive. You can now not just have a text prompt, not just have a supporting image prompt, but you can tag certain image prompts as omni-references, which then make them like almost like the character or the object, which is the focus of the image, and insist on consistency. You can add images and tag them as like style references to help you control the output of the generated image. In a really user-friendly way. You know, if I compare that to some of the complex comfy UI setups that we used just 8 months ago, or a simple kind of web interface, then it's a lot more accessible. And you can see, I'm actually going to try and use my pointer. Yeah, I think you can see my pointer. Yes, you can. You can see the output is a lot more on target than some of the ones I did before. And of course, they, why not? Let's add animation to them as well. Bring those images to moving. So yeah, the functionality is increasing, and also the way that they trying to interact with audiences as well. So I went to this other tool that we'd used, and I was presented with a chat window, which was like, why have I got a chat window? I want to create video, and I found myself, well, okay, let's try it. So I'm making a trailer for a video game which has got racing cars in it, and it gives you, it's like, oh yeah, I know what you want, here it is. And it's kind of like, that isn't what I want, but very impressive. This is more what I want, by prompting it with some imagery. But even that, it was doing some wild things, and it just seemed very sort of out of my control. So yeah, I think for, let's say, more professional people that want to get very specific results, it's still better to kind of gently, more aggressively, push the reference material and the prompting to something that you're after. I'm going to go all kind of like film school here a little bit, but I felt like 8 months ago, we had no choice in which to kind of create a video. You could only get short clips, and I did use video generation, even though we're working on a video game, to create like a look feel, like a tonal concept piece in moving image. So the work on the left is what I did 8 months ago, and I will show you that to you. Let's press play on that. So it took 3 or 4 days of generating, editing, adding sounds, logos, superimposing animated characters on top, trying to get consistency between all of the shots. And ultimately it was, it's great. I could show that to the art team and say, this is the color palette we want, this is the tone we want, what have you. But then today, on the right, this is a clip of similar length, but it took me mere minutes to generate for this presentation, just to illustrate this point. Basically, we now have a choice. We can extend the length of video clips now and employ 2 different sort of thoughts of film school, which is kind of montage of short clips, or kind of realism or immersive focus by using kind of longer takes. But these tools can be used, because of the longer video length, these tools can be used in more creative ways. And here's an example. So 1 year ago, and like I mentioned before, the hero assets of the game remained human authored, and we were exploring if we could generate new concepts for cars, and we were using Comfy UI to kind of try and get image consistency. And what we wanted was almost like the side of the car, the back of the car, the front of the car. Oh, I just saw that clip. The long video clip was done in Midjourney, and the other ones were in Runway. But yeah, Midjourney now does video headline. Yeah, it's moving fast. So yeah, if you look at the angles of the car, they were meant to be the same car at different angles, but the image generation just comes out as if they're all slightly different cars, which is completely unusable and just counterproductive for, if you were to pass that on to a 3D artist and say, this is the vehicle I want, there'd be more questions than answers. So we just abandoned the idea. But then it occurred to me, now with the prompting improved, with the omni reference, and with the ability to use create extended video, perhaps we can do this in a different way. So starting with an image of the car style, prompted different vehicle types in the same sort of style as the car. And then when I found one that I was kind of interested in, which is this kind of 4x4 version of like a truck of the same sort of vehicle, I was then like, okay, let's do a 360 orbit video. So then generated a 360 orbit of the vehicle. And it's not, and whilst it's not perfect, it's a very interesting sort of idea. Like, it's useful for a concept artist who has to, you know, they spend all this lovely time designing one side of something, and then they're asked, you know, what does the other side look like, and blah blah blah. This could give very quick ideas, because obviously this wasn't my only render. I saw different tumbles of the same vehicle, you know, and I was like, oh, I prefer the details on the front of this one. So you know, out of that video you could extract multiple viewpoints of a vehicle, for example. And then the real eagle-eyed amongst you know that the accuracy of these things are always a bit janky. So I've really kind of called it out for you there. By the time the vehicle's made a full 360, the memory of that has been lost somewhat. And you can notice that, like, what were reflections of grills have become actual grills in the side of the doors. The lighting has changed. The brake calipers have flipped sides. The bumper is different. The bonnet is different, but you know, we're seeing the world memory improve in these models, and in another 6 months I imagine some of these problems will start to fade. Yeah, it's an interesting experiment, so I just thought I'd try. Yeah, I keep going on about image and video, and to be honest, it's kind of like using these things creatively. Like, how can we add these to our repertoire and be something helpful for actual game development? But this was a nice little experiment. You can now prompt with pictures, and in your written prompt you can reference those pictures and be more precise about what you're trying to generate. So this image would have been impossible for me eight months ago, like to put this racing driver in this car in this environment. And it's not exact, but you get an impression of what we're after here. So yeah, that's a huge advancement. But you still have to, it's not always successful. It's important to show you the mishaps. You still have to deal with the janky misrenders, which, as entertaining as they are, they can get very frustrating and tiring and time consuming to correct. And even when you think you've nailed it, you know, the strangeness continues to haunt you. So, but yeah, when it goes right. So, you know, I've discussed this quite a lot with different groups and artists, and sometimes I receive requests. And in this instance, I was asked, can generative AI help with generating my sprite sheet animations? And I was like, yeah, I reckon it could. So I created these experiments. So I, you know, created like a stylized flickering flame and a little onomatopoeia kind of pop, and, you know, generated a sprite sheet as well, which, no, I didn't. Hang on, wait a minute. I'll explain what I actually did. I didn't generate a sprite sheet. So I basically, you know, did an image prompt, then I prepared it ready for an animation prompt, and then I animated it by describing very specifically how I wanted it to react. And then, unfortunately, with a manual process, I extracted the frames, but then you could easily automate that. There's automation could easily be put into that process. Yeah, so actually quite quickly, yeah, you can use it for creating some sprite sheets. I didn't get alpha in there, but I think I could figure something out. And then whilst I'm doing all of this, like, wow, you know, it can create a sky dome, and wow, it can do this. Questionably, you know, there are different types of video games, and, you know, there are, you know, the video game industry is getting to, you know, an age now where there's very, very, very professional pipelines out there. They've solved things and made things very efficient. So it's important for the team to keep an eye on best practice and see really how efficient things are, and whether AI can actually be added to complement those pipelines. So I hope I'm making sense. So I'm currently looking at digital humans, They already use touches of AI for like maybe the photogrammetry and depth solving when you're capturing these things. But also by me studying these more refined ones, I'm looking to layer on, combine these new technologies with the emerging technology. So I can imagine now creating a head, generating a 3D mesh, then using like a digital human pipeline to create something. So I've got a final demonstration of the foundation work for this. I'm just going to switch to another tab. Let's show you this. Maybe somewhat embarrassing now I'm about to press play, but let's do it. Okay, here we go. Look, that's not it. Okay, here we go.
So really on this journey, what we're looking at is how new technology can help improve and streamline digital production. In this case, in this demonstration, I wanted to show how like digital humans can be benefiting from new technology. I'm just using a simple webcam, and even though this technology was developed in 2023, it's come a long way, and now just with a simple single camera webcam with no depth reading capability, it's able to capture this performance and accurately transfer it onto a digital human, demonstrating that this technology is becoming easier to use and available for everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I was just moving my head because whilst I have your attention, I might as well show you how accurate this technology is. I'm literally live recording this straight into the engine that's capturing my expression. So cut. And you can see that, you know, it does a really great job. See you later. Bye.
Cool. So yeah, I thought that was fun to share. And the point being is, yes, I am a video game artist, but I haven't used that pipeline before, and it didn't take me very long to figure it out, and it didn't take long to do either. And the quality, the result is extraordinary compared to the length of time that was put into work like that in the past. And now knowing that that's accessible to us, and then thinking about like the tools that are out there, and then thinking, oh, if I combine that tool with this pipeline, then we might be able to generate new characters. Yeah, it kind of fuels the brain kind of with ideas. So what a slide. You haven't seen so much writing. This is my very kind of more personal attempt to explain and acknowledge the unease that some people feel, myself included, like, oh wow, like AI can do all of this, but it can't. It does a lot. It definitely speeds things up when you start using it in a way that you know, if you have time to research and tinker and find pipelines, then you will find some really great gains. So we're entering a new era, and we need to think about how we structure our teams, and in my case, like how we structure art teams. So whilst AI can replicate the surface level, maybe I should explain this. So basically, the artist journey, and I'm talking about from the very moment you start becoming an artist, you kind of, most of us get kind of like awed and wowed by the surface level presentation of the art that you're looking at, the film or the photo or the painting. You're like, whoa, and then you go and try and do this, and you succeed, and you think you're an artist, and then you meet another artist that's been working longer, and they've been developing that craft, and they teach you like methods and techniques to improve your surface level output. and then you master that, and then you realize that there's so much more depth to the work as an artist. You need to understand the structure, what to leave out, what to include, how to compose it all, how to make everything work in harmony. And that's, you know, in the industry, we have, you know, artists, experienced artists, senior artists, and actually these kind of correlate perhaps. You know, a senior artist is expected to understand arrangement, structure, composition, or they become expert at the idiom, which is the kind of a genre. So maybe they're like expert in science fiction or horror, and that AI dot that I put on there, it can do the surface and it can create the polish, which is interesting. It's like it does the end kind of really well, but it's the end of a beginning that needs to be, the beginning needs to be really well defined and really well structured and really hardly worked at, because the more evolved that art teams get and artists get, they start pushing down to kind of new invention of techniques of art. And then they get down to, you know, some people prefer not just the craft and the invention of new artistic discovery, they actually want to tell stories and share philosophy and purpose, and it's the message over the kind of art. So I think if I was trying to educate new artists, I'd steer them towards that idea and purpose, that message over anything, because there are more and more tools that allow us to tell our stories, and you just need to sort of work on the ideas, emotions, and philosophies. There's plenty of room for us to still get involved. There's loads of work to do. There's tons of work to be done. I hope that makes some sort of sense. And then once you're confident about your foundations, you can use these tools and create some really cool stuff. And as I mentioned before, the real power of generative AI in game development pipelines isn't what it can do, but how it transforms what we can do. And we have to recognize that all of the artwork we've ever done is a collaboration. Everything we consume, observing art, following tutorials, using tools, it's all part of the same dialogue. So I'm really privileged to be part of the discussion, to study these emerging technologies, pass on and educate others with the findings. And I hope today you found a little bit of inspiration. Thank you. That's the end.
Fantastic. Thank you, James. I feel like I got an education today in a way that I hadn't really understood, you know, because there's all these pieces out there that are floating around, and it's hard to put a framework around it so that you can start to break it down and think about it in a constructive way. And I think you have done a remarkable job of doing that. Clearly, you're not afraid to dive in and experiment with this stuff, fail, learn. And I think that's the lesson that I take away the biggest from this whole talk, is that we all need to kind of jump in and understand it better. And that's how we put the control on it that you're talking about, right? That's the key. Yeah.
I learn every day about being an artist. And when I was younger, I thought being an artist was this, like, I don't know, maybe this cool punk thing out of control, but it's complete the opposite. Like, the day you learn that the word art is from artifice, and it's the fact that we are trying to almost like control nature and bring it all concisely together. You know, it's almost, I did wonder, like, why kind of my programmer friends were just more laid back than me as an artist. That you know, it's like, I thought programmers would be more technical and precise, but they're like, no, they're chill, and they, you know, they like to. One good programmer friend was telling me that, you know, I'm just lazy. That's why I write code, to make it do things that I wanted to do. And I'm like, what? No, this doesn't ring true to my brain. But yes, I'm still growing. Every day I'm learning. And being an artist is is strange. It's more artificial. You observe the world, but then you somehow try to wrangle it and control it and bring it into some sort of cohesive structure.
Some meaning. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have a few questions. Let's see if we can get to a few of these, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And they started fairly early in the presentation, so maybe some of them got answered as you went, but I'll start with the first one. It came from Margaret. Can you give a list of the actual tools used in the pipeline? And I think you did that in a few places.
Do I flip back? Let's flip back through the presentation.
This came back in like maybe 15 minutes in to the presentation. So
yeah, so
early on.
Yeah, let me go back to the beginning. Here we go, just very quickly. So yeah, so Skybox AI was one here. It allows you to image generate a 360 mapped image already. So, you know, they specialize in generating those kind of spherical images. You know, so I think the heavy lifting and the win on this one is the fact that the image that you're generating is already spherically mapped, whereas in the past you'd have to go out and do lots of photographs, all very professionally taken and stitched together. So there's a bit of a saving here, and it allows you to remix tools. 3D AI. I think
I've even seen some foundation models that you tell it render a 360 view, and it does, and you get a fully, you know, Mercator projection or whatever view, unwrapped thing. So
this is 3D AI Studio in this one. Midjourney's in there, and I must say this is all for R&D purposes, and like I said, legal team. The best thing about involving the legal team, InfoSec team and everything is that they can start seeing, they need educating as well. And by working with us, they're seeing the tools we're requesting to try and test. They're looking at the terms and conditions and the you know, they're getting their head around it as well. You know, that's part of this process. So we're not endorsing them, and we're not, if any of you work at like a studio, we're not telling you, you know, use these tools. We're just using them because we're trying, you know, to just see what it would be like to use these tools. If we could just employ them tomorrow and try, what would we do? Comfy UI is an interesting one. Like I say, you know, it's a UI that you then take different models, and this could be a really good solution for people looking for those approved models which have been built from libraries. You can actually purchase models and plug them in, or you can build your own models and plug them in. When I say models, I'm not saying 3D models. I'm talking about a load of training data that's taught a AI about whatever the imagery it's been trained on. So you can train your own models, which is a really cool thing to do. If you're an artist and you've got a ton of artistry of your own, if you train your own model, then the output is going to be very much more legally approved. For sound, there was Soundful and Runway. There's so much more. And there's more that are coming out. You know, the tools I tell you today are not the tools you'll be using in 2 weeks' time, let's say. I've got a list of new ones that I'm going to be trying out in the next couple of weeks. I hope that answers some of your queries.
Yeah. All right. A question from Alice. It seems like the time of day of the level that you were showing has been changed. Is that purely artistic decision, or was that there were other things involved?
Yeah, that could be my ego kicking in. So it's always fun to get on a project and make your own mark. But no, really, the original game, it was on Apple Arcade on mobile devices, and whilst mobile devices are capable of smashing it out of the park and rendering amazing artwork, you need to have, it needs to be scalable for lower end devices. So ultimately your game gets kind of constrained. And the original aspiration for Detonation Racing was this graphical comic book art style. And due to kind of restrictions in performance and time, production, the reality of production, some of it fell to the wayside. So returning to the project, talking to some of the original artists, they wanted this graphic book style. So I think I always think of the CMYK print color scheme, and it inspired a new color scheme. And we really wanted to do a facelift, and I think I did get a little bit of slap on the wrist, because it was like, oh no, we're doing a remaster, yeah, but I'm like, is it a remaster or we started getting into the language, when they remake again, is it a remake or a remaster? And we ultimately wanted the team to have fun and put their own stamp on it whilst researching. So we all agreed that we wanted to do this facelift. So yeah, it's not a fair side-by-side comparison, but I will say that I personally think it looks better, and that is through a lot of color palette choice and visual communication. And the point being is that was all human decided. So you need to wrangle the tools.
I got to say that there were definitely some moments from the original game when I looked at it and I went, oh, that actually looks pretty good. So it wasn't like this was a terrible looking game.
And it's a different mood, right? It's a different mood. Like, Oh, it wasn't a terrible. It was, it was a good little arcade game. It was a very successful racer on the platform.
So Cassidy asked, how did you manage to get nearly identical gameplay demos from two different versions of the game? Was that scripted or just a very talented playthrough?
That was just me. That was actually me. Yeah, I didn't get someone else to. I was trying really hard. It took a lot of laps, and I just picked the best ones and some crafty. I did have to decelerate in a couple of bits. I was like, oh, slow down. Like,
going too fast.
Yeah. I don't know how I did that. Did I play the video at the same time? I might have. Yeah. It was very hacky. There's nothing clever about it. Just drive and
good capture, good performance and capture.
That's how I labeled the file once it's it's like good capture, because there was lots of them. So no, that was
Margaret says, how would you evaluate the difference between the new and the original as a gamer? Is it a better game from a player perspective?
No, the great thing about Detonation Racing is at the core, the fundamental core of the game was a great arcade racing handling. There's many components to games, and gameplay is right up there as an important element. And we didn't have to actually tweak the handling or anything, because it was great in the original one. In fact, these early games are the foundation of Electric Square. Electric Square have an absolute expertise in vehicle handling. They have an amazing team that have gone far beyond that game now, and they handle a lot of the big. If there's a vehicle in a very high-end AAA video game, then probably Electric Square have been involved in helping implement that vehicle system. Great. So
it was already good, so it didn't.
So the gameplay was already fun. So how would I evaluate it? Because I'm an artist and because I like the way it looks in the remaster, I think it's better. Art can do some things to the game. There's a better sense of speed. The commentary adds a hell of a lot.
It does,
when you play it and you get this feedback of what you're doing through the commentary. We added some like radial blur effect and some speed lines, and even something as simple as field of view can really change the sense of speed. I wonder if anyone noticed that when you were watching the split screen, everything looks so slow, and then as soon as you see the wide
because you're not getting the width,
everything speeds up. So there was a little bit of camera tweaking. So I think the remaster is a little bit better.
Okay, great.
And
Alice, oh, go ahead.
and the help of AI is part of that. You know, we did a lot of discovery at the beginning. I like to say we worked with AI to discover ideas for the remaster.
Cool. How much more time do we have, Cassidy? Are we? I want to make sure.
I'm fine.
5 minutes. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'm not falling asleep.
Okay. Good. Yeah. We'll get you something. Where in the pipeline do you think the AI tooling is the most valuable with this experience in mind?
This is an incredibly right. Okay. Where is it most valuable? I think it's so everything seems quite bespoke at the moment. Hence the building of Agent Swarm. So Agent Swarm might be the answer to this. The Agent Swarm, in case some of you haven't kind of cottoned on to what it does, is kind of like a hub for all of your models. And then what we're trying to do is make it user friendly so that you yourself know that your own pinch points in your own pipelines, and then you can try and build something to help you with natural language. So if that's our dream, right? So like, we're not quite there yet, but if I have a pinch point in my pipeline that I'm very familiar with, I would ask the question, is there some automation I can do here? And I would try and build myself a little agency that can try and help me do this little thing. So I think the answer is it's very much your own problem. If you're a wizard at drawing, you don't want to use it to do your concepts. You want to draw them. Like if you're okay, this is how it helps. All right, this is the answer. I've got the answer. It allows every artist on the team to contribute to more areas of the production without having to wait for every single, you know, it removes some bottlenecks. But what I would recommend a team building, so for example, concept artists, I would put a concept art team stronger in the art direction pot. So I would encourage, instead of just being like one art director, it's almost like the concept artists have to be expert in the art direction, and they need to all be like a unified unit. And then anyone can go and generate something to unblock their pipeline. So let's say a 3D artist wants to create, you know, this accessory for a character or something, and they're just like, oh, the concept artist didn't give it to me. I'll go and generate it because I've been told this is the prompting, this is the style, this is everything. But I think there should still be some gatekeepers that can, then you can just quickly throw that over the fence and say to the concept art team, how's this looking? They can adapt it, change it, be the vision holders, if you like, and then just throw it back over the fence quickly. So I think it's that kind of, you know, and then when we're white boxing things out, like a level designer you can even start imagining what the assets look like. It's going to be tricky. We're going to need some boundaries because people like to feel valued and they like to add value to a project. And it's not nice if someone takes that value away from them. So we don't want people stepping on each other's toes. But the thing is that I have worked now in a team that's used AI tools. And one thing it did, and this is probably going to cause a bit of a discussion or an argument, is we weren't as ego precious about the art that we were looking at. We were now sort of evaluating it for the product. And I wasn't precious on handing it over to someone else to adjust. So did the product benefit from that attitude, or is it less good because we're caring individually about the piece maybe a little bit less? It's a tricky one, but it was really nice to work on, say, like the character remaster images. I was working alongside with someone. We were generating different looks. We were discussing which one best represents the character, which one's got the most personality. I was regenerating the hair because I didn't think it was right. And at no point did the ego kick in. No one got defensive about any of the changes. We just cracked on and did it. I wonder if that is And
yeah, it sounds to me like what you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying is almost like this changes potentially, depending on the people, changes the paradigm of how you work together, or at least gives you that opportunity to have flexibility in the way that you work together that has been maybe more rigid when everything is one other person's responsibility fully.
I'm sure every tech art industry has gone through this change, but when I started the video game industry, everyone was very more T-shaped. Like you have a lot of skills, but you have a bit of an expertise in one. And over the years, because of the demands of production and because of the quality of the games increasing and the customers getting used to the quality, we've had to specialize. So we need people that are very specifically expert at doing one thing. I maybe see a shift back towards those kind of T-shaped people that can do a bit of everything, but still look after kind of an area of production. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end it, honestly. And we did get one comment that one of the Margaret tried to look for the links to the articles on LinkedIn and wasn't able to find them. So we'll make sure to help.
So you need to look for you need to just go to the Keyword Studios LinkedIn page. I think that's the first place to start, and then you just need to kind of search for Supercharged somewhere on that, and it will be it's a LinkedIn newsletter if you've ever subscribed to a LinkedIn newsletter. And then within those, there are PDFs, and those PDFs are the documents we created for various pipelines.
Great. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much again, James. This is a terrific conversation tonight. We're so appreciative that you are up at 3:30 in the morning and you know, have a good night's sleep, relax. Things are changing so rapidly that maybe we need to have you back in a year and see where things are, you know. But we'll definitely stay in touch with you. Yeah, it's just great to meet someone who is really getting their hands dirty in this stuff and trying things. And you know, I think we're all gonna need to try out more of it to learn. And appreciate you showing us how you are leading the way to do that. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much.